Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Play for Keeps podcast. I'm Cameron Hay at Cameron_Hay on Twitter. I'm, of course, joined by Drew Williams at Dope is Drew on Twitter. And we have another special guest on this episode of the Play for Keeps podcast. We have Yoda, a.k.a. Rashad Phillips, NBA draft guru, analyst, evaluator, whatever he goes by. You've probably seen him on your timeline, hitting on all of the top guards in the draft and current young guards in the NBA. How are you doing, Rashad?
I'm great, Cam. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, guys.
No, we appreciate you coming on for sure.
No doubt.
When we started the pod, we wanted to focus in on other African Americans in the basketball community, and you're somebody who's carved out their own lane and their own niche in the community, and are one of the more respected people. So we definitely wanted to have you as one of the first guests on the pod for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've been following you guys and really love the work that you've been doing, and you've been building the right way. And it's exciting to see young brothers like yourselves, build something organically, man. So again, it's my pleasure to be on you guys' platform.
Definitely. No problem. We're about to dive into it. We're going to start off, of course, we have to start off with your high school career and upbringing in Oakland County, right?
Yeah, I'm from Detroit, but I went to high school in Oakland County, which is right outside the city of Detroit.
And you played at Ferndale High School, correct?
Yeah, Ferndale High School. Yep.
Can you tell us about that experience in high school and how that went?
Yeah, I was born and raised on the east side of Detroit, and my local high school was Detroit Persian, which is a powerhouse. Steve Smith, Kevin Willis, just Willie Mitchell, Winifred Walton. I mean, so many great players come from there. My parents graduated from Persian. My younger brother went to Persian, and just in my era, I was very, very small going into high school, and a lot of people don't know this, but when I was in middle school, I was one of the best football players in the state of Michigan. So a lot of people knew me for my football. But
what position did you play in football?
I was a quarterback.
Wow.
So I was a great football player in Little League, and my father took me out to play with the Oak Park Trojans football team, which was on the outskirts of Detroit. And I got a lot of notoriety out there and started to befriend a lot of those kids in that area during middle school. So long story short, one of my best friends, rest in peace, he passed when I was in college, but we developed a great friendship. His father happened to be the head coach of the basketball team at Ferndale at the time, and they recruited me kind of for football. And the funny secret behind all of that was the whispers in Ferndale and Oak Park area was that he's actually a better basketball player. So when I got to Ferndale, I started more of a football player, and then they found out I was actually probably better in basketball, and then it kind of went from there. And I had a pretty productive 4 years in high school. Yeah,
and do you think? Let's start off with the freshman year at Ferndale.
Yeah, for sure.
So you played all 4 years of varsity at Ferndale, but you said you were small. What was like the adjustment going to varsity basketball as a freshman, being your size? Was there any learning curve for you, or were you right out hit the ground running and were scoring immediately?
Yeah, that's a great question. There wasn't really a learning curve for me in particular because I'm a coach's son.
Okay.
So growing up in the city, my father started a community center in 1979. I was born in 78. So I was raised around the game of basketball. So I came up under Steve Smith and Chris Webber and Jalen Rose and all those guys. So I always had a high cerebral IQ of the game. So that's why I was able to transition right into high school and start on varsity as a freshman. So the learning curve wasn't as deep as it is for a normal kid making that transition to varsity. Now, the challenge that I had was me being small at 14 years old, having that little kid body and trying to adjust to playing against seniors and all that. So it was a great year. We won the conference title my freshman year. So it was fun. It was really fun.
And did Ferndale, before you got there, did they have any type of like history for their program? Was it a basketball powerhouse locally, or was it just like a regular school?
Regular school, but they did have some great players before me. Dwayne Stevens, who's the associate head coach at Michigan State, was a great player at Ferndale. And Tommy Staten, who also before us, he was a great player out of Ferndale that went to University of Michigan. But it was like every 20 years we would have a great player.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to play with Jared Stevens, who was Dwayne Stevens' younger brother. He was my teammate. He was a year older than me. He actually went to Penn State and ended up leading the Big Ten in scoring and rebounding one year. So I did have some great teammates, Alvin Jones. So I had some talent around me. So I can't take all the credit there. I had some phenomenal teammates. I had a fantastic coach that kind of helped me along the way.
No, for sure. Like when you hear about these people who go on to have these prolific collegiate careers,
you
want to know like how dominant they were. Where did the dominance start for them? And of course, you hit the ground running. Of course, starting as a freshman on varsity, and just all 4 years carries you.
Yeah, it did. I as the years went on, I continued to progress and actually grow. So my freshman year, I averaged 12 points. And then my sophomore year, I averaged 19. My junior year, I averaged 22 and 11. And then my senior year, I averaged like 26. So as I grew in stature, my statistics, and we started to win more as I started to grow with age. So I started at like 5 feet. And then when I graduated high school, I was 5'8". So I grew 8 inches in that 4-year span. And my senior year, I was dunking the basketball my senior year. So I had kind of developed and really made myself into a really good player.
Yeah, 8 inches over the course of 4 years in high school.
Yeah,
even if
crazy.
it's only 5.
That's a lot. That's
still a lot.
Nah, that's a crazy growth spurt.
That is a crazy growth spurt.
Playing varsity at 5 foot, I can only imagine.
Exactly.
You know?
It was tough. It was tough, Drew. Like it was tough from the physical standpoint because you guys know basketball. So imagine the matchups that I had, night in and night out. Like one night we played Pontiac Northern, who was like the tough city school in Pontiac. They had 2 senior point guards. These dudes are 17, 18, and they're like dog tough. I'm 14.
Right.
Like they're dunking and they're fast as hell. And I'm still like, you 14, you still a kid.
Yeah.
Like I have a 14-year-old daughter now, and I couldn't imagine her being a starting point guard because she's a gymnast, but at her age, having that responsibility of I have 5 seniors on my team. So you can see the pressure that I had as a 14-year-old with 5 seniors like, hey man, get me my touches. And then I'm trying to get my game off. And then I'm trying to defend these 18, 17-year-old fast point guards. Like it was an adjustment because of the size.
Yeah. Like you said, you're playing the toughest position or most important position on the floor.
Yeah,
definitely. And like you said, by the time, you got to a senior, you had already been comfortable and whatnot, but you were in the same class as Kobe, right?
Absolutely.
And you guys both played in the Magic Round Ball Classic. You actually won MVP, if I'm correct. Had you played Kobe prior to that, or do you guys have a relationship to the point where you had played each other in AAU, or was that your first time playing him?
It was my first time playing against him, but his greatness was always, his aura was always circling, because when you're in that class, when you consider yourself a big time player, you're always looking at the competition around the country. We didn't have social media or nothing. So there was magazines, Street and Smiths and Slams and all that. So I would read about the greatness of this Kobe Bryant. It was like he was mythic, right? It was like, damn, you would see pictures of him in a magazine. And this was like, the magazine was like Instagram back then. So you be flipping through the magazines and it's this picture of Kobe and he's like leaning and he has these veins popping out of his arms and he's like, you could see the shoes and he's dunking. I'm like, damn, they like, this is the #1 player in the country. I'm like, woo-wee. And I'm like, damn, I'm reading an article and he's like 6'6" and he's 200 pounds and he's going to skip college. And I'm like, damn, like, bro, really for real. Like I I gotta get in the gym, bro, because I gotta run. What I'm trying to get to, what he's trying to get to. Eventually, we're gonna cross paths. If you're a shark, you're gonna cross other sharks in the water.
Right.
Thanks.
So
Right.
I was sharpening my tool, and then eventually we crossed paths.
Right. So,
and how was like that game, that experience, like you winning the MVP with the number one player being Kobe Bryant in the same game as you?
Yeah, it was kind of like, I mean, you couldn't script this in a movie, like this was something it felt like it was a Disney fairy tale scripted out. I was the unranked kid. Nobody knew me. I was a local hero. Like everybody in the state of Michigan knew me, but it didn't go really outside of the state of Michigan. So Mateen Cleaves, who was the number 1 or number 2 point guard in the nation at the time,
Michigan State.
State, yeah. And Mateen was just phenomenal. He was just, oh my God, he was so powerful and strong in high school. He ended up being injured, so he couldn't play in the Magic Roundball Classic. So they called me at the last to fill in for Mateen Cleaves because he was hurt. So they give me a call and say, hey, you can fill in, but we don't know if we're going to play you, but you can come in and practice because we don't know if you're good enough to play with these guys. Right.
Wow.
So my dad was like, oh no, my son, like, don't insult my son. My son is the number 2 point guard in the state of Michigan behind Mateen Cleaves. No, he gonna play. Yeah. So there was a practice. So my dad drove me to a practice. We practiced at Callahan Hall, which is University of Detroit, where I went to college. I had already committed. So our first practice was there. So that was the first time I seen Kobe Bryant. First time. So I walk in the gym and I get my Sonny Vaccaro's there. They give me my practice uniform. And they're like, all right, we're going to do some drills and we're going to scrimmage. And I saw Kobe and I saw like this 6'6" figure. Like you got to understand, like we're both 17 years old, but Kobe's like on another level.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he's on the verge of going to the NBA. I'm just a dude going to the local college.
He looked like a pro at 17.
Oh, listen to me, bro. Listen to me. 6'6", just like George. So I walk in, I see him in the 3-man weave, and we're stretching and all that, and he's just like dunking off the wrong leg, and I'm looking at it like this. I'm saying, shit. I don't know. He's 360, and then Tim Thomas is there. Tim Thomas was a 6'10", prototypical, or do it all, like all the guys that we like in the NBA now. That's what Tim Thomas was. So
he was the top kid in Jersey too at the time, wasn't he?
He was a number 3 player in the country.
Yeah.
And he did 1 year at Villanova, and he was a lottery pick. So we scrimmage. We scrimmage. I'm on the opposing team, and I have to give a shout out before I tell y'all this story. I got to give a shout out to Jason Hart, because I don't think I would have made this team if Jason Hart wouldn't have opened up to me, because Jason Hart I think he was the number 2 or 3 point guard in the country.
Yeah.
Jason Hart was like, let him scrimmage. I'm gonna sit it out and let him play. I'll come in with the second unit. So Jay was like getting treatment or something. So I went in with the first 5 against Kobe and them in the scrimmage. I ended up with 26.
Wow.
So the coach comes to me and was like, yeah, bro, we got one more scrimmage tomorrow. Come back tomorrow, and we'll see. So the next day, we scrimmaged again, 31 in the scrimmage. They like, yeah, you starting, bro. So I ended up getting a starting job, and I went out in the Magic Roundball Classic in front of 15,000 people. And that game, I ended up winning MVP, and we won the game. So that's kind of how it went down.
That's incredible.
What it's funny to me is it reminds me, your career, in my opinion, had a lot of parallels with our last guest, Jerome Randall, undersized, dynamic guards that can get to the chicken at any point. They can score at all 3 levels and can facilitate. But it feels like you were under-recruited because of your size and, I don't know, any other factors.
Yeah.
What led you to Detroit Mercer, and were you considering any other school at the time coming out?
No, for me, well, the other school I had in mind, and it's true, and a lot has to do with the timing. Timing is everything in sports, man. I was under recruited because I was 5'8", a $145 on a great day. And college Division I schools were afraid of giving the keys to a 5'8" point guard. Like, who's this dude can't win me games. He's 5'8", a $150. Like, yeah, right. you gotta look at it from a college coach standpoint. So if we're college coaches, and we're all three coaches. So I'm like, Cam, hey Drew, what you think about this kid in Detroit? Cam say, man, he's 5'8", 145 pounds. And Drew like, well, I don't know. Can he win for us? Because if he don't win for us, we get fired.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it was a lot of college coaches that were scared of saying, let's give a 5'8" dude the keys to our program and can he take us home? So Detroit gave me a scholarship because Coach Perry Watson, who was the top assistant coach who brought in the Fab Five, he watched me grow up as a kid. So he knew my DNA. He was like, Rashad's not the average 5'8", 145-pound dude. Like, he's dynamic and he's different. So we're going to bring him on. So that's how I got the offer from University of Detroit. And for me, as a kid, I grew up in Detroit. So my dad used to take me to the University of Detroit games as a kid. So they were my heroes. Imagine living 15 minutes from a college and being able to watch college basketball at 5, 6 years old. Like, it's embedded in you to love that school.
Right.
So I was able to live out a dream to go to University of Detroit. So for me, it wasn't like I'm at this school that nobody knows about and nobody's going to hear about me, because I knew that when I got to that school, I was going to be an All-American, and I ended up being one.
Yeah, like, and talking about your career at Detroit, you ended up, like your coach said, you're dynamic, you're different than other 5'8" guards, and of course, it speaks for itself when you average 26 points your senior year of high school, and you carried over when you got to Detroit, which you are currently. I think it's safe to say the most decorated player in the school's history. You lead the program in scoring with 2,319 points, 348 made three-pointers, and 541 made free throws. Those are all program records. You're a conference player of the year, as well as the Francis Pomeroy Award winner. Like, what is it you're most proud of in your time at Detroit? Like, all of those records that we just rattled off and accomplishments. Is there anything that stands out the most to you during your 4 years or your time there at Detroit that you are the most proud of?
I'm more proud of, first of all, graduating on a dean's list. And this kind of goes into my media career. I went into college to study broadcasting and communications. And to go in there and finish in the dean's list. So those who don't know what the dean's list is, means like your grade point average is maintained at a 3.5 or higher. So to graduate with honors in liberal arts was my number one accomplishment, because I was the first one in my family to go to college. So to really do that was something special. I didn't really notice or pay attention to it in that regard when I was that age, but now at this tender age of 42, it was my biggest accomplishment. But from a basketball standpoint, I only lost one game at home in 4 years.
Wow.
So the winning for me, I don't think a lot of people understand that. Yes, I scored a ton of points, I had a ton of assists, I got a ton of MVPs, but I wouldn't trade none of that in for I'm the all-time winningest player at the University of Detroit. So for me, being 50-1 in 4 years,
that's crazy.
I don't know if you can find a college Division I point guard that only lost one time in his entire 4 years. So think about that. Like, I only lost one time on my home court in 4 years. So that's my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, you protected home court for sure. And now at Detroit, there's a guard, Antoine Davis, who scored. He averaged like 24 points, I believe, this past season. Like, do you have a relationship with him at all? Or
absolutely,
absolutely.
I talk to him all the time. I actually did a show with him after he broke Steph Curry's 3-point freshman record. He's going to shatter my records from a scoring standpoint. Like, I'm only going to be the all-time leading scorer for another year and a half, so I'm gonna milk this out. He's dynamic, like 5'11", 6 foot, and I just think the way the NBA is today with the spread offense and a lot of the freedom that the offensive players have, I believe he's going to be an NBA player.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. The productivity speaks for itself as well. And like you said, the way the game is going, you need guards who can really get in the paint at all times, but also spread the defense out and shoot from deep. He definitely fits the mold. And so your time at Detroit, it ended like with a career like that. When you have at Detroit, of course, you're eyeing the next level, playing at the highest level possible, which is the NBA. Yeah. Can you explain the process of after college and what it was that might have kept you out of the league? Was it size or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So after I finished my senior year, I ended up being like All-American. I won the Naismith Award as the best player in the country under 6 foot.
Yeah.
And also we went to the Final Four in the NIT. So that was a huge accomplishment. So you got to understand, like when you at a mid-major school, the NIT is still a huge.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, man. Like a lot of people try to, the regular people that don't really get the whole landscape of college basketball, the NIT is a huge deal. So we went to the Final Four my senior year, and we ended up losing to Alabama, and Memphis beat us with Calipari. That was the year before Wagner got there. So I was, and you can look this up, I was on mock drafts as a first-round pick. So I end up going to Portsmouth. So if you go to Portsmouth is they invite the top 60 seniors in college basketball.
Yeah.
And they bring you to Portsmouth in Virginia, and they put you on teams. So it's like teams of 8. So it's like 7 teams of 8, right? Or 8 teams. And they bring in a couple of scragglers depending on what agents make the phone calls. So I got my invite to Portsmouth. And when I go to Portsmouth, I win MVP of Portsmouth. So, but not only did I win MVP of Portsmouth, I won the championship. So I went there. We only had 6 guys on my team because one guy got hurt the first game. So we had 6 guys. We had to play 5 games. I took my team to the championship, and we won. And I won the MVP of Portsmouth. So I ended up averaging 21 and 6, which was second in the Portsmouth in scoring and second in assists. Yeah, this. You can look this up. So I won that MVP. So I get out of there, and so in the mock drafts, they got me going in the first round to the San Antonio Spurs. But after you do that, you start getting calls from teams to do individual workouts. Yeah. So I got a call from the Golden State Warriors, which I was excited. I think this is why I love Golden State still to this day, because they were like one of the first teams to call me. They called me. I had a workout with Golden State. I had a workout with the Orlando Magic. Is one of the reasons why I live in Orlando, because I always love Orlando for showing me love. Orlando called me, Golden State called me, and San Antonio called me. So and the New York Knicks. So I go to Golden State, and when you go to these workouts, they pair you with certain point guards that are in that's supposed to be in your like first round or second round or whatever, right? So this is who's in my I get to Golden State. So this is who's in my workout in Golden State. So for me, I'm the hunter. I'm looking like I want the smoke, because I'm a mid-major guy. I was an All-American and I just won the MVP, but I feel like they got me at the end of the first round, and I don't like that. I feel like I'm a lottery pick. So whoever you want to put in front of me, I want that. So Jamal Tinsley's at my workout with Golden State, who was a first round pick that year.
Tough.
No, he was so tough. Jamal Tinsley, Tony Parker, Zach Randolph, and Eddie Curry. It was us 5 in the workout. So in the workout, I get there and I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, I heard about this Tony Parker kid from France. I heard about Jamal Tinsley. Like, I watched him in Iowa State. He cold with it. And so we get to play 2-on-2, but Tony Parker doesn't participate in the workout. he quote unquote has a thigh bruise, so he can't.
He dodging smoke.
Yeah,
he dodging.
So he didn't. So he had this thigh bruise or something, right? So he didn't do none of the drills, the one-on-one drills with me and Jamal. So me and Jamal locking horns for an hour and a half in front of all the NBA personnel for Golden State. So me and Jamal going one-on-one, bam, bam. He beat me one game. I beat him. Like Jamal Tinsley was, I couldn't guard him, bro. I couldn't. Like he had so much in his bag. And the only reason I was able to beat him, because at times he just couldn't guard me either, right? So
right.
It was like it was just a mirror match, right? So then we go 2-on-2. So it was me and Zach Randolph, and this is when I knew Zach Randolph was going to be what he turned out to be,
a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and this is how I knew, because even though I was a player at the time, I was always an evaluator, because I've been doing that since a kid. So me and Zach Randolph go 2-on-2. Me and Zach against Eddie Curry and Jamal Tinsley. We win every game. Not because of me, because I threw it to Zach every play.
He couldn't be stopped.
Oh my God. I had never seen anything like this. So after that, I get on, I'm flying back the next morning. One of the Golden State people pick me up, and they take me to, as we drive into the airport, he tells me, I don't supposed to tell you this, but our meeting last night, everybody said that you was the best player there and the best guard that we've worked out thus far. I really think we're going to draft you at 31. And I was like, cool. He's like, but you didn't hear that from me. So again, long story short, I went to Orlando, worked out there. Orlando liked me so much, they brought me back twice. I worked out well there. And then once the draft process started, I went to Phoenix, which was another NBA camp. I took my team to the championship, and I turned my ankle the first quarter. Wow. So yeah, the first quarter of the game, I took my team all the way to the championship. This is about to be my second championship in these camps. I turned my ankle on Damon Thornton from NC State. It was a big 6'9" guy. I double crossed over Carlos Arroyo, who had a great NBA career, got to the lane, and I threw a behind the back pass. And as I came down, I landed on his foot, messed my ankle up in a championship game. So I didn't get to finish out there. Long story short, the NBA draft came, thought I was going to get drafted. Golden State had the 31st pick. They end up drafting one of the most dynamic players that we've ever seen in Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like, and then so after I didn't get drafted, I went to Summer League with Golden State. They still brought me to Summer League because they loved me so much.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's funny you talk about that. And in our last episode, we talked to Jerome about the politics and, everything that goes on in the NBA training camp when you're trying to make a team as a rookie, not drafted in the first round. I know he talked about being a scoring guard coming out of college. Mm-hmm. It was hard for him to show coaches he could be a facilitator and, finding that balance, right? Finding that balance in between being a short. Did you have difficulty with that too? Or you out there just playing?
It's crazy because we all have that battle, right? Like you get to the point where you try to be something that you're not, and it ends up damaging you more.
That's what Jerome said. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're overthinking.
Yeah, so my advice when I talk to these kids now that are going into the draft and these workouts, I always give them this advice because this is what messed me up, and it probably messed Randall up and a lot of other little guys that was trying to make it. Don't try to be something that you're not. Just be what got you there. What got you this far? What got you this far is you being a scoring point guard. That's what got you here.
Thanks.
Right.
So why are you going to change what got you here? Because that's why they intrigued. So my junior year in college, I led my conference in scoring and assists, which is very, very, very rare to do. If you guys look through the stats, I can guarantee you'll probably see one player per year that leads a conference in scoring and assists. That's how hard it is.
Hard to do.
It's very hard to do. You can ask anybody. So my junior year, I led the conference in scoring at 23 and assists at 5.5. So I had already shown NBA people that I can do both. Like, whatever you need me to do, I can do it. So when I got to the last camp in Chicago, pre-draft Chicago, which still goes on today, I basically tried to be John Stockton.
Yeah, that's not your game.
Right.
And yes, that's not my game. I'm a scorer, bro. Like, and if you pay too much attention to me, then I'll drop 12 assists. So, but I was overpassing to the point when you overpass, it leads to turnovers.
Right.
Yeah.
So one scout has told my agent, like, oh, Rashad turned the ball over so much in Chicago. And my agent was saying, well, because he was overpassing. Like, if you look at his career, like, he's an assist guy. Like, that's what he does. But again, if you try to be something you're not, it's going to hurt you. And the NBA is looking for any way, especially when you're small, they're looking for a reason not to take you.
Yeah.
When you're big, they're looking for every reason to take you. It's like, if you walk to the bathroom with straight legs and you're 6'11", they're going to say, let's draft him. Look how he walks.
Exactly.
But if you small and I walk to the bathroom wrong, they're going to say, look how he walking to the bathroom. No, we ain't drafting him. He's 5'8" anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So if you give them an excuse to not take you, they're gonna amplify that. And that's what happened to me.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about leading and scoring as well, and then dimes. Anybody that follows you on Twitter knows you have a lot of affinity for Trae Young's game.
You were one of the first people to really like jump on board with him being a superstar in the NBA.
Yeah, and I know, you followed him obviously, during his prep career and everything. But when he really took off, I remember you were the first person to really say he can be that guy at the NBA level. What really attracted you to his game?
He reminded me of myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, like, like when you're a hooper, you play for so long. Like, I've been born into the game, so I've been around the game for 40 years, literally. And I just I saw myself in him, and I saw that the game was changing for guys like that. Steph Curry kind of opened the door for a lot of guys that couldn't dunk and couldn't really jump. So when I saw Trae Young, I was like, oh no, this is what the NBA is about, this kid right here, and I just took a deeper dive into just following him and EYBL. And once he got to Oklahoma, I knew that he was going to be special. And that's why I got out in front of it. And I wasn't doing it when I first started my media stuff. I was just speaking what I believed. Like, it was like, hey, I think the kid going to Oklahoma, I just think he's going to be a star. Like, and he ended up making me look like I know what I'm talking about. And so far he's done. So far he's done well, man.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal first 2 years in the league. And like, it's funny because like you said, you were one of the first guys on him. And I remember when Trae was coming out of college, like a lot of people were skeptical of his size and could he do all the same things that he did in high school and at Oklahoma and the NBA. And now it's kind of foolish to think that it wouldn't have worked because it's translated almost seamlessly. Like, so sometimes it's really just a matter of giving a guy opportunity. Like,
that's it.
When you really believe in that guy's talent, like, and what you're looking at is going to translate to the highest levels of basketball, highest levels of competition.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that, like, I have a soft spot for point guards, right? So I like, we stick together. Like, we're defensive of each other. So I try to protect point guards, smaller point guards, mid-major point guards. So it's like we stick together. We're like a fraternity. Yeah. So I take up for all of them. It's not just Trae Young. It's like I make sure that when I see a small, great point guard, I don't want them to go through what I went through. I went through a lot of, I call it sports depression, because you got to think about it. When you work so hard for something and you're so tunnel vision to get there and you check off every box to get to that prize and then you don't get to it, you got to understand the deflation in that.
Yeah.
Right.
So you got to understand, like, I was born to play at the highest level of basketball, and to do everything in my power to get to that point, from elementary to middle school to high school to college. And then when you get right in front of the door, they close it in your face. So I never want to see a point guard that I believe checks all the boxes. I want you to open the door for him. So I speak heavily for people like Trae Young to open up the door for them and give them an opportunity so they can show you what they're about, because a lot of us don't get through the door. So we have to vicariously live through the Trae Youngs, the Steph Currys, the Ja Morants, the Kemba Walkers, the Kyle Lowrys, like all these 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2" guys. We all don't get in. It's a million of us, but only 15 of us get through the door.
Yeah.
All right.
You understand? Because it's only 450 jobs in the world. You can't let 100 of them be 6 feet. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it becomes math at the end of the day.
Yeah, I remember me and Drew were high on a guy who was in the same situation as you, an undersized guard, Tyler Ulis. I know we both were huge fans of Ulis' game in high school and at Kentucky. Like, I say personally, out of all the point guards John Calipari's had, just strictly college, his sophomore season at Kentucky is the most impressive one that I saw, where he won SEC Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean,
at 5'9",
winning Defensive Player of the Year at 5'9",
unbelievable.
And that wasn't like a super loaded Kentucky team. Of course, Kentucky always has talent, but that wasn't like the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins type of team. And to watch what he did that year as a sophomore,
unreal.
It was crazy. And just like hearing you say, like, you stick up for all of the smaller guards and everything. Ulis is one of my favorite college players of the last 10 years for sure.
Definitely.
At Kentucky.
Oh, I agree.
So
I agree. He was tremendous. And like, I go back to because he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
So I got people in Chicago. So I've been knowing about Tyler since he was like in the 9th grade. So I was always following him and watching his progression. And he just had a CP3 vibe. Like, his command of the game was unlike anything. And I believe the kid Sharif Cooper going to Auburn, he's the same type of player as Tyler Ulis.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, but so we gotta hope that we gotta pound on the door, and to NBA, you gotta let him in.
Yeah.
You gotta let him in.
Yeah, I think Sharif can be special. I think Sharif is really, really good, man. I think he's really good.
Yep. I same type of style.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, even though you never, got to that NBA level, we know a lot of guys, in the NBA give you your flowers. One, circling back to Kobe, he talked about you being the best player that wasn't in the NBA. Did he give you solace that somebody in that stature held you in that regard, or give you any type of validation, or you kind of find that in your play?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna just keep it all the way 100 with you guys. Like, I was really in a dark place for a long time in regards to not making it to the NBA. Where Kobe saying that during the time, because he said this like back in I think it was like 08, 09 when he
best player in the world too. Like, he
at that time when he said it, he was iconic when he said it.
Yeah.
And it came after him inviting me to a game. They played the Pistons, and I was unemployed. I was just coming back from overseas, and I was in a financial dispute with an overseas team that owed me some bread.
Jerome Randall was talking about this.
It's really funny you mentioned that, Jerome. He talked about not getting paid on time. Like, he talked about his least favorite part of the overseas experience, the money.
Yeah.
Man, I had a team. I won't even tell you the country or the team, but it was a team that owed me like 150 large.
Wow.
So I end up coming home, and I was in a really dark place because I had lost about 300. So I came home. Kobe contacted me, wanted me to come to the Piston game. This was right before they made the trade to get Pau Gasol. They traded to get Pau Gasol like 2 days after they played the Pistons. So they lose to the Pistons in the Palace. I'm waiting after the game for Kobe. And I see him, and he calls me over, and we're talking. And it's just me and him, and he's like, "Dog, what's good?" I'm like, "Man, I'm chilling. I'm home, whatever." He's like, "Hey, man." He's like, "Hey," he hit my chest with his fist, like, "Hey, man, hey, wake up, dog." And he was like, "Wake up." He's like, "Nah, wake up. Keep your head up." He was like, "Do what you got to do." Yeah. And I was like, "Man, I'm thinking about like I'm about to retire," because this was like '08. I was like, "I'm about to retire, man. I'm done, bro. I got like one more year in me, and I just want to move on." He was like, "Follow your heart, but whatever you do, make sure you get it done." And he punched me in my chest, and he's like, "Hey." And I looked at him in the eye. He's like, "Get it done, dog." And then we dapped up, whatever. We took a little picture, and he was like, "Holler at me if you need me." And I was like, "No, I got it." Right. Yeah. So the next year, like that talk with him. The next year, I retired. I went overseas to Saudi Arabia. I played there. I was MVP of the league in Saudi Arabia. My last year, I won MVP. They offered me a 3-year deal. I turned it down, and I started my own training academy. And my training academy turned into the biggest training academy in the state of Michigan for 8 years. And the reason that happened is because Kobe Bryant had that talk with me and told me to get my shit together.
That's real. And he knew when he saw you, when you were in that dark spot, he knew that wasn't you.
Yes.
He knew that was not you. And that's why he was saying like, "Hey, I know who you really are. I know this isn't you.
Yeah, this ain't you."
Exactly.
And that goes back to our high school, our time in high school where, when we played against each other in the Magic game, we spent time, when we were hanging out at the arcades and the hotels. Like me and him got a chance to befriend each other when he got drafted to the Lakers. We would talk. Like when he first got to LA, people don't notice, like his sisters lived with him, like, so I used to call him all the time and talk. We used to talk on the phone. Like we developed a friendship because I believe Kobe, he befriended me because he like, damn, like, bro, like really tough with it. Like he had a respect for me because I was small, but I didn't back down from him. Like Kobe likes people who don't back. That's why him and Matt Barnes became cool.
Yeah, Matt Barnes, they tell that story all the time about like Matt Barnes just wouldn't back down from me. That's what Kobe respected in him.
Exactly. Like Kobe was so intimidating in high school, bro. You guys have no idea. Kobe was mean, bro. He was really mean. And we locked horns, and he respected that. Like, damn, this little dude he not budging. And so we developed a friendship, and that's why when speeded up to 2008, our friendship was that strong. So Kobe kind of instilled that, like, get your head up, get your shit together, and it really, I still carry that conversation with me still to this day.
That's incredible. And like you said, you started a basketball academy for 8 years after you retired. When did you and you said earlier, you always had it in you, like that you were an evaluator of talent, even when you were a player. What made you want to dive all the way into like the media side of basketball and become an evaluator yourself on a professional level you are now? Like what made you take it that serious after you had this huge basketball academy already?
Yeah, man, I got tired of watching. I got tired of watching the certain media members project the game of basketball to people in the wrong fashion. And it started to bother me that when I would turn on the TV and I would watch these multiple stations, and I would be like, no, that's not how the game went. Like I would be arguing with the TV, and it was like, I gotta create something where I wanted people to see basketball through the lenses of a person like myself. And I just felt like there wasn't a lot of people in the media space that would go out and speak the game from an organic standpoint. It was a lot of agendas being pushed. And I just didn't like that. I was like, I want to just kind of talk about the purity of the game and then I noticed that mid-major players weren't getting the notoriety. So I just wanted to create a platform where when you come to my platform, that you were going to get an honest opinion through a lens of somebody who played on every level and crossed paths with so many great players in their journey, that maybe I can give you the game from my glasses and maybe you would like it from there. So that's kind of what made me do that.
Yeah, and like since you're a player, and players always have like they have a different perspective than the average viewer, just because you played the game and everything, and especially like since you were point guard, you can evaluate point guards a little bit differently than the average fan can. So I'm pretty sure like that's it goes hand in hand right there, like you said, just wanting to like evaluate the game based off of what it really is.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be right all the time or anything like that, but when people see my material, I want them to understand it's coming from a basketball place. You know, like there's a difference between being narratively wrong or basketball wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
I prefer to be basketball wrong. So like I would say, oh, this kid may not be good. It's not my narrative that I'm saying he's not going to be good. It's just my basketball opinion. So if I'm wrong, it's because it's a basketball wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No,
definitely.
It makes sense for sure.
So like when I'm wrong, it's because I was basketball wrong. That's it.
Yeah, it's not because you had any agenda or any.
No, I was just wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, none of these analysts hit 100% anyway. I mean,
nobody.
You can look at it, any sport, God like Bill Belichick, they don't hit every year in the draft.
No.
You know?
Nope.
It's the nature of the business. Like you're gonna have misses. Like
for sure.
You can evaluate somebody and watch all the film and everything, think it projects to the highest level. At the end of the day, that player still has to go in and do the work.
Exactly.
Or circumstance wherever they were drafted to has to work well for them. Like
all those factors come into play when you evaluate, and you don't really know what's going to happen with the team. It could be injury based. It could be, they could have you just off court issue. You just never know. So there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, but if you're watching NBA playoffs right now, there are a bevy of guys who you yourself were high on and hit on as far as evaluating that other people might not have been particularly high on at the time. Guys such as Tyler Herro, you were pretty high on him. Jamal Murray, you were really high on him. I remember you being high on Jaylen Brown. And of course, Kendrick Nunn, he's not in the Heat rotation right now, but he finished second Rookie of the Year voting after being undrafted. And you were one of the only people I really saw that was really high on him coming out of Oakland. Like really high on him. You believed that he could play in the NBA and contribute at a high level. And he proved that this year, averaging, I think, 15 points for the Miami.
he was tremendous this year.
Yeah, he had a great rookie year. And so when you look at stuff like that, what do you look for when you're evaluating guys like that? Like you said, you look at it from a basketball sense, but like all of those guys are different type of players for the most part. How do you know certain things for players is going to be translatable?
Yeah, it's really, that's a loaded question, but it's like, it's like when I look at players, I don't look at the statistics of the player. I look at style. I look at mannerisms. I look at how they inject others around them. So let's just take Bam Adebayo for an example. When I watched him at Kentucky, just watching how he goes about the game, I'm watching how he runs after a missed basket. Like I'm looking at those things, and then you add on top of the obvious things like, does he seal in the post? Does he screen right? Does he roll? Did he hedge properly on that? And then I kind of compile all the things that I'm watching, and then I come out with this output, and I'll say, okay, I believe Bam Adebayo is going to be this. So it's like there's a weird science to how I do it, but then I kind of like do all the homework and then I present it to everybody and make it easy. Like, hey, this is why I think Bam Adebayo is going to be the breakout player in the NBA this year, because I watched his film. I saw him in Summer League when the Miami first drafted him. The Summer League was here in Orlando. I went to the summer league. I watched the Miami Heat because I wanted to see Bam with my own eyes. I had been watching him on tape. When I left, I said he's going to be an all-star in 3 years. You can book it. Because I just saw the energy that he brought to the game, his passion, and just the way that he elevated people around him. So that's kind of how I do it with everybody. Now, when it comes to guards, it's pretty easy for me with guards because that's what I was.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's easy for me to see the style. Like I just watching him come off a ball screen. Like if he comes off the ball screen shoulder to shoulder, or if he's putting too much space between the hedger and himself, is like, oh, he don't know how to come off ball screens. He can't play in the NBA yet. Like just little stuff like that. That has nothing to do with stats. Yeah. It's like I could just tell how he come off a ball screen. Like, oh yeah, that's how NBA point guards come off ball screens, or how he uses his offhand. Does he do this? Does he get his feet set? Let me look at his technique. Is he talking on the court? All those that kind of factor into my evaluations.
Yeah, and like you were. I remember before the season started, me and you were having a conversation, and I think we both had Bam Adebayo as our pick for most improved player.
Yeah, we did. But
of course, it ended up being
Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram won, which was a great choice. But Adebayo finished in the top 3.
He was the runner-up.
So like we both
runner-up.
And yeah, and it's funny you bring him up right there, and you were really, really high on him coming into this season.
High on him. I was like, I put it out there, like, look, this the dude. This dude gonna have a breakout year. Bam Adebayo. He was my number 1 dude to break out, and he made
the All-Star game, and like you said in 3 years, and it was his 3rd year.
It was his 3rd year.
Made the All-Star game. So
yeah, that's the joy of it, man. Like I just. I love that. I get a joy out of it, man. Like because I'm such a basketball person, I'm obsessed with the game. Yeah. So I just love seeing kids be successful, and I love when I hit because it's fun. It's just fun for me. I know a lot of people on Twitter get mad and they say, "Oh, why do you keep bringing it up?" But you got to understand, like I run my own company, right?
Yeah,
I don't work for ESPN. I don't work for Fox Sports. So if I don't bring it up, who's going to bring it up? Like I have to promote my own material because it's my own company.
Right.
True.
So if I don't bring up Bam Adebayo or none of these people, you guys would never know because none of the ESPN ain't going to bring it up. No. Like you see what I'm saying? Like with John Morant, like nobody's going to bring up my material but me. So you got to understand, like, I run my own company, therefore I have to bring up my own work in my own company.
Yeah,
or nobody else is going to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you don't promote it and you don't put yourself out there, nobody else is going to do it.
Right.
It's just like it's part of ownership. When you own something, it's your job to put your own material out there. Now, if I go somewhere else or a bigger platform, I'm sure that company would bring it up. You see what I'm saying?
Of course,
but I am my own company.
And so until another platform or something comes along, you got to do it.
Right. Yes, it's part of ownership.
Yeah. So I know we all, have kind of been thrown around by the pandemic and whatnot, especially college basketball not getting a March Madness, and you being a big, mid-major guy. A lot of mid-major guys that would have gotten that big stage opportunity in the tournament didn't get to play this year. Who are you think some sleeper that would have had a big March Madness a mid-major sleeper for the draft? Do you think we should be having on our radar, or who is your favorite guard in this draft?
Man, I got a lot of. It's hard because there's a lot of players, but I believe Grant Riller. From College of Charleston, I believe Grant Riller is the best offensive player in the draft.
Yeah, you've been high on him all season.
Man, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. Yeah, he. I don't know where he's going to fall in the draft. Some teams got him pegged at the first rounder. Some teams I've talked to have him late in the second. But I'm just telling you, whoever takes him, man, you're going to get a player. He reminds me a lot of. He got a little bit of Spencer Dinwiddie in him. But terrific twitch with the ball, can wiggle, can knock down shots, very efficient, very explosive. I think he's going to be fantastic. A kid that I like that the tournament with college basketball being canceled last year at the end, he's not in the draft this year, but I believe the kid AJ Green out of Northern Iowa would have really turned some heads. He's back in college this year, but if he would have got a March Madness, I believe he would have came out.
Stage.
He's really, really, really good. Yeah, he needed that stage. He's good. Flynn from San Diego State is fantastic.
Right, Malachi Flynn.
Yeah.
I actually I went to Vegas to watch him because I was watching my kid, Amari Hardy and Jaden Hardy. So I was in Vegas with them. So I stopped and watched that game and watched Flynn. He's very prototypical. I think he's going to be a terrific pick. So again, I'm just kind of highlighting the guys that don't get the notoriety. Obviously, we know about the big guys, the LaMelo Balls, the RJ Hamptons, and the Anthony Edwards. We know about those guys already, but I wanted to highlight guys like that. But I think Tyrell Terry is going to be a player that we definitely want to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, sorry about that. Hold on. Let's wait on the siren to go by. We're going to edit that out.
Yeah, we'll edit that. Well, like you were speaking of like not hitting and everything. And is there anything when you say you miss this for basketball purposes, not because of narrative based or anything like that?
Yeah.
When you make a mistake, or I don't even want to say it's a mistake, when you miss on a guy,
yeah.
Is there anything when you miss on somebody that you look at once they have success in the league that you might have overlooked previously and apply that going forward to anybody else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Here's something I want to share with you guys. Just a statement that I use. Mistakes make geniuses. The more mistakes you make, the smarter you get.
You can learn from them.
Right.
Mistakes make geniuses. So anytime I make a mistake, I learn from it. Yeah. And in life itself, whatever it is, if it's stock market, if I mess up in the stock market, why did I mess up? Oh, I messed up on that trade. Then now I know not to do that again, right?
Yeah.
So mistakes make geniuses, and that's for everybody. I want everybody to understand that. Go out and make mistakes because the mistakes is going to make you a genius later. So that's how I kind of look at things. So when I miss on a guy, I go back, man. Like I look at Luka Doncic. I'm like, man, damn. I'm like, let me go back and what did I not pick up that, and then I apply that to the next kid that I evaluate and be like, okay, let me make sure I cover that base, so I can increase my probability of not being wrong on this kid. But again, like you both said, there's a lot of factors that go into misses. Sometimes it's not the basketball. And I have a perfect prospect to bring up that people want to say I missed on, but I believe in my heart I didn't miss on, and that's Mo Bamba. Yeah. I believe some kids go to the wrong team.
Yeah.
You can get drafted to the wrong team and it completely will take a kid out.
That's facts. That's 100%. It's all situational based, circumstantial based for a lot of kids.
Getting buried by an all-star in front of you.
Yeah, like Mo Bamba went to Orlando. I didn't like the pick, and I love my Magic, but I didn't think that Mo Bamba was the pick they should have took. But he was so unicornish, they just couldn't pass up on him. But I was like, you don't need him because you're gonna pay Vooch $100 million. Yeah, you're not gonna play the kid.
Yeah.
So now he's buried on the end of the bench in Orlando. They are afraid to trade him because they do know he's a unicorn.
Yeah, if you trade him and he becomes what you think he is somewhere else, it looks like you just
exactly. Right. So sometimes NBA teams are afraid to trade their lottery picks because they don't want the backlash when they. So if you trade Mo Bamba to, let's say Atlanta, whatever, Mo Bamba's a different player playing with Trae Young.
Yeah. Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's situation. So I don't think I missed on Mo Bamba. I just think that he got drafted by the wrong team.
Yeah. And him being in Atlanta, just hypothetically speaking, the game, first of all, it'll get simplified for him a lot more. Like he won't have, they aren't asking him to do a lot in Orlando now because he just doesn't get the opportunity to play. But Trae Young, a point guard like that, will put him in positions to where he can maximize all of Mo's strengths. Whether it's rim running, lob threat, pick and pop threat, anything like that. Like, so it's definitely situational for a lot of guys, and Mo Bamba is one of those guys for sure. Like, if he just played in somewhere where he could just get more PT.
Put him to Dallas. Put him in Dallas with Luka.
Yeah.
Imagine Mo Bamba with the Mavericks. Like he could, and you put Porzingis and Mo Bamba with Luka. They probably, if they stay healthy, they'll be a tough out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's situation. So I still believe in my heart. No, I didn't miss on Mo Bamba. But people, you missed on Mo Bamba. No, he just got drafted by the wrong team.
Yeah, and when he leaves Orlando or whatever, for example, you'll be able to see more out of him.
Yeah, especially if his mind is right. Like, like young rookies that get drafted in a lottery. And I had this, me and Chauncey Billups talked about this in his interview that I got coming out. Yeah. But a lot of young players, when they're drafted early, if it doesn't go their way, they go into a dark place and they never can climb out of it. So
Chauncey, a lot of guys who he struggled a little bit at first. He was a lottery pick.
Yeah.
And then he became
number 3 pick. Number 3 pick.
And then he became what he became in his second.
After 5 teams. Yeah, after 5 teams, bro.
Yeah, like
you know how mentally tough you got to be to get through 5 teams, and then finally on your 6th try, like, okay, this is it. Like, you have to be mentally strong, and a lot of people aren't as mentally strong. So you got to have that going into the next team as well.
Right. It's like it's situational. I can't wait to hear that Chauncey Billups interview. That's gonna be interesting.
It's going to be a powerful interview. I can guarantee you that. And the Chris Webber one is going to be crazy too.
I saw you talking about that.
Yeah, I was definitely looking forward to the Webber one. I know he doesn't do a whole lot of media, so getting any type of action.
He don't talk. No, he don't talk.
Yeah. And so I have one last question for you.
Sure.
My question is, you were talking about your misses and like people bringing up how you always promote your hits.
Yeah.
But there are always going to be people who don't care about you being right about anything. They're only going to bring up what you missed on. Like you Twitter trolls, all stuff like that. How do you, at this point, have you blocked out just any of the outside noise, detractors, anything like that to keep pushing forward? Because you've had the conversation with me before. You'll hit me when you see somebody like coming at me or something.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, yo, you just got to ignore them. Just keep going forward. Just push forward. How did you get to that point? I'm young, so of course I want to like argue back with anybody.
You want the smoke? Yeah, you young.
Exactly.
You got.
But you've been real instrumental in times telling me like it's not even worth it. How did you get to that point now? Especially because like you said, you run your own business and like you balance protecting your brand, but also just letting the outside noise be outside noise.
Correct. That's a great question, Cam. So for me, I go back to my basketball days. Like I was a great free throw shooter. And you know what? When you shoot free throws, I actually loved shooting free throws on the road opposed to shooting them at home because I like the noise to shoot free throws. It actually motivated me to make the free throw. The more noise you made, it was easier for me to make the free throw. The quieter it was harder for me to make free throws. It was a weird science for me. So I look at the Twitter noise. I always imagine myself at the free throw line, and I see and I hear the Twitter's noise in my head. And you don't know basketball, and Luka Doncic is this, and you missed on this, and you missed. And I hear all this noise, and I'm taking my 3 dribbles, and I'm taking my breath, and I'm saying, yeah, this going in, and I flick my wrist, and it swishes. So that analogy is that I ignore the noise, but I hear it. So I'm concentrating more to get to my goal.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. And a lot of people, like, oddly enough, hoopers, they feel the same way about you just talking about free throw shooting. Like, I guess it's not natural to shoot in a quiet gym. Like it's practice, but it's just not natural to shoot. You can't simulate the game situation of shooting on the road with the crowd going crazy and everything. But yeah, man, like I said, you've been one of the people definitely to like you'll hit me and be like it's not even worth it. And I see, because you had plenty of people come at you about whatever it might be or anything
every day, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And just to watch you like it bounce off you and you just keep moving. I just want to know like how your thought process was behind it.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like shooting free throws with a lot of noise. Just focus on your target, aim, take your breath, release, and then jog back on defense and say, yeah, when I get back, I'm gonna make the next one. So that's how I look at it. And you guys have done a terrific job of building this platform, and I was elated when you guys reached out to me to be a part of it. Like, I always love to support young people that are great for the game. Like what you guys are doing, you're doing something great. The game needs people like you two that really love it, that cover it the right way, and you're opinionated, but it's educated opinions. There's a difference.
Right.
Educated opinions I always love, even if you don't agree or you do agree, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That it's just an educated opinion. Like, I know, Cam, you love your Lakers and AD and all of that, and that's
yeah,
and that's great. Like, that's great. Like, I love to see everybody, push their product, and I love everybody's knowledge of the game, and I embrace it as long as it's coming from a positive place. Like, I'm always with it, and you guys have done a good job of just amplifying that. We need more guys like you.
Hey man, we appreciate those words, man, for sure. That means a lot coming from you, 100%. And we appreciate you having the time to come on board and do this episode with us, do this show.
Yeah,
we'll keep supporting everything that you do. Like you said, the Chauncey Billups interview is coming. The Chris Webber one, we can't wait to tune in to both of those. Perk speaks highly of you all the time.
I love that dude.
Perk talks highly of you for sure. So just keep doing what you're doing, and you have our support the same way you support us.
Yeah, for sure, man. What you gonna do next year when Brooklyn in the finals against the Lakers, man? Who you gonna cheer for, Cam?
KD send me some tickets. I'll be cheering for the Nets. KD send me some tickets, but we appreciate you, like I said, coming on board, man. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you follow. You want to plug anything before we get up out of here? Anything you want to plug for the listeners?
No, man, I'm all good, man. They can follow me on Twitter, RP3 Natural, man. I'll be there shooting free throws.
All right. Follow RP3 Natural on Twitter. Make sure you follow us at the Elite Media Group on Twitter and Instagram, at the Play for Keeps podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and at RNC Radio Live on Twitter and Instagram. Until next time, we are out.